Vlogging, vlogging. This is COS 30,043 Lecture 7. Today we're going to talk about using forms in Bootstrap and AngularJS. Oh, by the way, today for the whole day of 7th May 2020, we have a mid-semester assessment inside Canvas happening right now. During the day, you will be given 30 minutes to answer 20 multiple choice questions. So do your best and good luck. For this lecture, let's get into it. Alright, welcome to COS 30,043 Interface Design and Development Lecture 7. We are talking about form today. So this content will be about Bootstrap form and also how to use form in AngularJS. There's few form that we will be talking about inside this lecture, which is vertical form, inline form, and horizontal form. Alright, let's start with a vertical form. Alright. To create a vertical form, you add attribute roles form to the parent form element and wrap labels and control in a div with class form-group for spacing. Add class form control to all textual input, text area, and selects element. Add class checkbox to checkbox input, radio to radio input for series checkbox or radio input, append input type inline. For example, the checkbox inline. This is one of the example for vertical form. Let's see here. We have form group. Alright, see the right side of the sample over here given to you in your canvas later on. Form group, checkbox for checkbox. Let's see what will happen if we do that. Let's go to our vertical. Alright, it will appear like this. Okay. Next, we're talking about inline form. Okay, to create an inline form, add the class.formInline to the form tag. All the elements are inline, left aligned, and labels are alongside. Labels are often not displayed. Instead, placeholder value is used as the input prompt. However, label use not be removed for accessibility reason. Hence, the class.sr only is used. By default, input, selects, and text areas have 100% width in Bootstrap. Okay, the example for inline form will be this. Okay, let's see what we have here. We have form.inline to the form tag over here. All right, and then once we do that, form.inline, your form will appear to be looking like where's my inline? This. All right, to the left and label to the side. Okay, for the last type of form that we'll be discussing about today, which is horizontal form, how to create it is to add a class of .formHorizontal. So you can see we have over here horizontal to the parent form element, wrap labels and control in the div with a class.formGroup as usual, .formGroup over here to behave as grid rows. The container class might be required at the parent element. However, inside this example, I didn't put any container class. Add class control label to the label. Where is it? Control label over here. Alright. A horizontal form means that the labels are aligned next to the input, right? Labels are aligned next to the input field, horizontal, on a large medium screen. On a small screen, alright, it will transform to a vertical form. Labels are placed on top of each input. Let's see the examples we have for the horizontal. Okay, at the big screen, it will become like this. If we make it smaller, it become a vertical. There you go. That's a horizontal type of form in Bootstrap. Next, we're going to talk about some Bootstrap control style. So we have the first one, which is static control. What is static control? It uses the class.formControlStatic on a P element to display a plain text next to a form label within a horizontal form. Example, we have this form horizontal, and then inside the P element we have class formControlStatic. So if you need to insert plain text next to a form label within a horizontal form, use the control form static class on P element. Alright, so we have our form control static over here. Alright, so what's the output of that? It will become like this. Alright, the label will be displayed on here, here, for example. So next we're talking about validation stats. Bootstrap also support validation class styles for errors, warning, and success messages. This can be added to the parent element. However, you need to remember that validation stat is not fully supported in some browsers, as what you can see here stated in Bootstrap 4 instead of Bootstrap 3. The problem still exists. Alright, currently we recommended using custom validation style. As native browsers, default validation messages are not consistently exposed to assistive technologies in all browsers, mostly Chrome and desktop and something like that. Alright, so the example for the validation state over here I already put inside the rest.html file that you can try to check. We have different type of input with success and icons for success, warning, and errors. Let me show you. Alright, we have it over here for validation state. As you can see, it has different colors. Alright, also with the glyphicon or icon with Bootstrap, you might have problem with this. For example, this one, it may work for some, it may not work for some, so good luck with that. If you're having trouble with that, you know it's not only you. Okay, there's actually way to fix it, but then we are not be covering the way to fix that inside this course. So if you want to fix it, might as well find some forum that have solution to it. So input focus, the next control stat is input focus. Box shadow is applied when an input receive focus. Let me show you again over here. This one, if you click it, there's a box shadow over here. That's the focus. There you go. Next is disable input, adding the disable attribute, and disable field set, adding the disable attribute to a field set to disable all the control within the field set at once. Okay, we have our disable input over here. Alright, and also a disable field set over here. So let's see what happened. Okay, for this one, it disabled the whole field set. Alright, and for this one, it disabled the input. Okay, let's see it. Okay, this one is disabled input. This is a disabled field set. Both of this thing is disabled because this thing, the select, is also under the field set over here called disable field set. Okay, next thing is about help text. Helps are blocked after the input is used to add a full width of block of content. Let me see, where did I put my help text? Over here, right? See, we have a form control text placeholder, nothing inside, but then we have span help span class help block. This is where the text is placed, so it will be looking like this. Alright, so for all those control state just now, it can be included inside the form by using different view depending on the user input. It also can be implemented in your plain HTML or like your user interface, or how you want to implement it based on how you do your website. Alright, so now we have a example how to use it. We have over here by combining Bootstrap with AngularJS, we have form name my form. Alright, we initialize the my form, my input. It's not valid. Alright, false. The valid value is false. Alright, this is one of the AngularJS thing that we'll be discussing next. Is on how to is on checking based on this type of the input, if the input is valid email address or not. Alright, so we have here your email, the type of your input, name, which is my input, and then model, my input. Alright, so this one initialize, this my input, and this initialization is false. Okay, so if the my input is false, then we have a control label for input error. Let's see what happened to it. So if we type something, alright, input error. What if we type email? Alright, then it's not input error. Okay, that's one of the validation, how the validation works. Next, we have various type of Bootstrap buttons. There's a lot of buttons that you can choose from in Bootstrap. Okay, button, the BTN, provide default standard button. The first one, button primary, provide extra visual weight. button info indicates informational alert messages. Let me just show you buttons. Alright, we have here. Alright, this is the default standard button, the primary button, the success button. This is the info button, warning button, danger button, and the link button. Look at that hyperlink action over there. So the code is over here for default, PTN default, PTN primary, and so on. Some of you already do this to personalize your Bootstrap tasks, any of your tasks that are related to Bootstrap and also AngularJS that I ask you to do. Alright, it's not as difficult. You just add extra wording after the button. Instead of button default, use button primary, and so on. Okay, what else? The button over here is also button size, button large, button small, extra small, and button block. Alright, for button block, creates a block level button that spans the full width of a parent thing. Right, this is block level button, large, default size, small, and extra small. So next we have a different state for buttons. We have button active. Use the active class to button to show that it is activated. Over here we have active button. It's like, you know, like a bit more push per se. And then button disable, used to disable the attribute to buttons. Anchor active, used to use active class to anchor button over here, anchor element buttons to show that it is activated over here. Active link, this one is disabled. You see, like when you hover your mouse, it says it's disabled. Right? For anchor disable, use disable class to anchor button. Okay, note this only changes the appearance, not its functionality. A custom JavaScript is required to disable links here. However, some of the browsers, such as my browser over here, even though it doesn't show the cannot go sign, but this button is actually disabled. So it also depending on your browser and your Bootstrap version. Alright, so the next part of the lecture, we'll be talking about AngularJS using HTML5 form attribute. So we have our HTML5 form validation attribute over here. We have our form name, my form. Alright, so we have this name stated already. And then we have our name, first name. So AngularJS can validate the attribute by using this, the name of your form, my form, and then the name of your input, which is the first name, to see if it's valid or not. There's different status. You have valid, error, and so on. Okay, this is what your input status are. We have untouched, if field has not been touched. So basically, if you don't do anything to the field yet, so the output will be true or false as well. Touch, if the field has been touched. Pristine, if the field has not modified. So you touch the field and then you type something, that's already modified. Alright. Dirty, if the field has been modified. So you can either use pristine or dirty, but then you can also use true and false, almost the same thing. Valid just now, if the field content is valid. So what is the valid content seen by AngularJS? For example, if you have input type text and then you put text inside the input, it will be valid. Alright, for example, another example is just now using your REST HTML over here. Alright, so if the input type is email, so if it's not an email form, it's not valid. Okay. Alright, next we have our $ error, which is an object containing references to all invalid control or form, where key are validation token, values are array of control or form that are invalid with the given error. Alright, so this is example of the error object. You can see like over here, like we have different type of things that can change if you print it. For example, here we have our form validation error, my form the error. It will print anything about this form. Let me show you. Okay, for example, here it says something untouched true, meaning that we haven't touched some of the stuff over here. Alright, untouched true, untouched true. What if we touch it? For example, this first name, touch it, the untouched become false. What if I touch this one? This one untouched become false. So pristine, still true, right? Meaning the pristine, remember what pristine means just now? If the form is not modified. What if we modified the form? Okay, we see pristine is still true. If we modified it, tap, the pristine is false. Modified it, see? Now the error gone because the last name already valid. Alright, if the last name is not valid, then the error is still over here. What else over here? It says like the dirty is true, meaning that we already modified the form. The valid is false for this one. Why? Because we have a extra validation for that one. Alright, so I will talk about that later on more. So what validation token that we can use? We can use the number, pattern, required. See over here we have required, URL, max length, min and min length, what your HTML5 provided to you. And we also have another one that called model option, update on blur. So update on blur meaning that the validation only validate, let me refresh this, only when you type in. It didn't update yet unless you click away, which is the blur. So the next part is for styling with CSS with your AngularJS just now. Okay, we have different CSS class for AngularJS. CSS classes are provided to style the form and attribute is true. For example, to set background color to red if the form control is invalid, we can use the ng invalid inside your what is it called again, like CSS, either external style or like internal style over here. Although if you want to use the color to input element only, you can put input.ng invalid. Alright, and then there's different class for input that you can change the what is it called again, CSS, which is ng untouched, ng touch, ng pristine. For me, like I try to use ng valid over here as well to change the color to green with opacity of 0.2. Let me show you. Okay, let me refresh this. Alright, the edge is already valid because like you cannot put what is it called again, letters over here. You can only put numbers. It's like counted as valid already for some reason. For example, this one for first name still invalid. Last name, if you put anything, it become valid. Update on blur, remember that, you see, valid. Okay, how about the first name? What was the condition for the first name? Okay, so in the next lecture just now, in the next slides over here, we have something called a customized validation directive. Okay, basically it's like this. We have our first name over here, and then we have our required, and then like my directive. So this my directive over here refers to over here the script, your AngularJS script, or your JavaScript script, your script, basically your script. You have your app.directive, my directive. This one, it connected to this one. Alright, and then we have our ng controller, my form control, app controller, the controller connected to this one as usual, and then your custom directive connected to this one. So we have our require ng model of this directive, the user first name. Then we have our validation value. Alright, so basically it says like if the comma value, like this character, the comma is less than 0, meaning there's no comma, so the validity, set validity is false, so it's not valid. Okay, so if it's there's comma, then the validity is true. So basically to make this one valid, you have to add a comma and then it will become valid. Alright, so that's one of the directives that you can use. You can try this by yourself, change your requirements over here, how you want to set validity of the this what is called again, element. Alright, which is to disable the submit button. So a $ invalid can be used to disable the submit button through the ng disable directive. We have ng disable my form invalid. So basically we have our my form over here. Alright, so if the stuff over here is not validated, you can use the my form invalid, disable the button if the my form is invalid. So over here we already have your submit button because everything is valid. What if it's not valid? Then you cannot click the submit button because a lot of the validation is not done. Alright, so first name validation error required true. Right, we have that. Right, and then what else over here? Validation error we have over here, required for this one. Alright, then there's no other things over here. You can check your form valid status by using this form valid status my form dot $valid, and then you can disable the button by using the $invalid and disable the button by using the data ng disable for the submit button if it's not valid. Let's see. Alright, that should be it for our lecture 7. What we did just now is to introduce you some basic form using HTML5 form attributes such as the required, the min length and whatever thing that you can use, styling with the CSS, and using the directive over here to use separate JavaScript to validate your stuff. Alright, you can try this yourself and practice it for your future tasks. So thank you for viewing lecture for COS 30043 using forms for Bootstrap and AngularJS. So for a reminder, in the next week, Monday, I'll be closing submission for credit task 1 and credit task 2. So make sure that you submit your credit task if you are aiming for credit for this course. For credit task 3, it will be on the following Wednesday, which is May 13. 1-3. Don't forget about that. So please do get your task signed off and checked by me first before you submit it into Canvas. If you like this video, smash the like button, share this video to your friend and family, and comments if you have any question. Also, you can leave it inside Discord discussion board. See you next time. Bye. What? You're not keeping up with weekly tasks given to you? Cringe? You know it's easy, right? You are there given some demonstration that you can follow to complete your weekly tasks. You can also ask for your friend or Google the solution, and then if you do so, don't forget to add comments to your code, make sure that you understand what you're doing, and also add some Bootstrap styling to make your work stand out. So don't forget to complete your task to ensure that you pass or even get higher grades for this course. Make some friends. The more friends you have, the easier your life will be. And that's why my life is rather hard, because I have no friend.